Coming up on the personality profile, I take you to a horse shoe store at Monticello Raceway with Blacksmith ARON Rosenthal. We'll have that for you right after this message.
Who keeps the waters clear and the fish bountiful? Who keeps the land clean and safe from harm? For you, so you can enjoy New York, New York. Let's keep it in the great state it's in.
A world where wildlife cannot live isn't fit for man. Conserving our fish and wildlife presents great challenges as man and his technology enter the 1980s. Help the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation meet this challenge. For information, write Wildlife Albany 12233.
So you can enjoy New York, New York. Let's keep it in the great state it's in.
This is a shoe store for animals here at Monticello Raceway. And I'm with one of the blacksmiths at Monticello Raceway, Mr. ARON Rosenthal. I'll get the name right. I have trouble speaking sometimes. Pleasure to meet you, sir.
Yes, sir. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
First question, how does one become a blacksmith? A little personal history.
Well, you go to school if you want, or you apprentice to a blacksmith.
How did you start?
I apprenticed. I tried to get into school. They told me I was too old. I started at 38. And they claim that you have to be in the teens to get into school. So I went to a blacksmith and worked for a year for $30 every 3 months.
Was this locally or was this somewhere else?
This was in Goshen. I worked with an old man by the name of Bill Adams who was out of Texas. And I worked with him for a year to learn how to be a blacksmith.
Did you always have an affinity for horses?
Well, I had a riding academy when I was a teenager in high school. And I had a slight idea of how to shoe horses because I used to have to tack them when shoes on then. I also had 3 years of veterinary school, and one of my courses in veterinary school was on the care of horses' feet and shoeing horses.
Can you go over some of the tools that you have here? I see there's a furnace in the back.
Well, that's a forge. It's a coal forge, soft coal or blacksmith coal, whichever one you call it. It used to be run by a hand-driven windmill, which you cranked. But I've modernized it to the point where I now have a small electric motor and a switch.
Modern times.
Yeah, well, that's what it amounts to. It's easier. It don't hurt my arms so much, and it's faster. I also have a gas forge, which you use for traveling. You have to travel around. It's much easier carrying this than it is the hood, the forge, coal, tubes, and everything else.
I guess the simplest way to explain what you do is a horse comes in that has a shoe problem and you mold a new shoe to fit the horse. Is that, for the layman, is that the easiest way to explain it?
You fit. This is a different type of shoeing than any other shoeing you'll find. This shoeing requires that you fit the shoe to the foot. Any other shoeing in the flats, saddle horses, jumpers, or anything, you make the shoe, put it on the foot, and then shape the foot to fit the shoe. And this is different. You work with a tolerance of a 32nd of an inch or less here, because that's what's going to keep a horse from going into a break or keep him on gait.
Now, when you're nailing the shoe into the, how does that work for those who don't know the anatomy of the horse? It would seem to be very painful for the horse.
No, it's similar to your fingernails. The part of the nail that you have that hangs over is roughly the outside of the hoof. Your cuticle is the quick, which pertains to the horse's foot. The wall, or the outside of the foot, has no feeling. There is a white line inside of the wall which is the demarcation between the nerves and the dead wall.
So in other words, the area that you're nailing into, the horse cannot feel.
There's no feeling whatsoever.
Have you ever had any instances that were unusual when you look back, that it was very hard to shoe the horse just wouldn't allow you?
Oh, sure. Many times, let's put it that way.
Some horses, like humans, have
Some
worse
horses
tempers.
don't like anybody picking their feet up. Young horses are terrified, actually, when they come into a shop and there's all these different things. They're used to their own stalls. And a horse that comes into a shop for the first time has actually got a problem. He's scared.
So then it's up to the blacksmith to be tender with the horse.
Well, you can't be tender. That's 1,100 pounds of animal you're fooling with. You can't be tender with them, but you got to be patient is the word you're actually looking for more than anything else.
How long does it actually take you to shoe a horse?
Well, I do a horse in an hour. That gives me usually 10 or 15 minutes of recuperative time in between horses. It varies, though, with other blacksmiths. Some are faster, some are slower.
Aaron, is it simply a matter of if a horse is cooperative, then it makes your job that much easier?
Oh, absolutely. An aged horse that's had this work done on him numerous times comes in and he'll more or less pick his feet up for you. The only time you have problems is if a horse is hurting, if his back is sore or a leg is sore, then it's a little difficult for him to balance, and he might do some things which shouldn't be done, but majority of the horses are good.
Just like humans, when they go into a shoe store, some people don't like to pick their feet up either.
Well, some people don't and won't, but these horses are more or less cooperative. They've started with these horses when they're yearlings, actually. They start picking their feet up and playing with their feet, and when they get the idea that you're not going to hurt them, then they're fully cooperative, you might say.
Sir, thank you very much for taking time out of your busy day to talk with us.
You're welcome.
Mr. Aaron Rosenthal, Blacksmith Supreme at Monticello Raceway. Aaron's the name, shoeing's the game. We'll be back with more on the Inside Track right after these messages.